So I'm going over the right side of my breast, the 12 o'clock position,
What goes through your head
12,
when you're doing a self-exam?
1,
That's what Jessica Baladad
2,
is doing here.
3, 4,
A self-exam involves
5,
manually
6,
feeling around your breast for lumps,
7,
and it's a way of monitoring
8,
your own breast health.
9, 10, 11, 12. I'm good.
Jessica does these exams regularly. This one, though, this one is different. Firstly, she's away from her home in Tennessee.
I'm in Mandan, North Dakota, visiting my mom and my grandmother because my grandfather had just passed away. It's so cold outside and there's so much snow on the ground. And I thought, I'm going to get in the shower. It's going to be warm. It's going to feel good. I need to get this airport smell and grossness off of me. So I got in the shower. I'm thinking to myself, it's time to do your self-exam, Jessica. I'm 33 years old. I had just gone to the doctor for my well woman's exam. She did a clinical exam of my breasts. She felt them and said nothing to me about finding a lump. I'm probably okay. And then something's like, no, Jessica, stay in your routine. It's after your period. Do your self-exam.
So she does, starting with the right side, which feels clear. No lumps or bumps.
Let's take care of the left side. 12 o'clock, 1, 2, wait a second, 3, what? What is that? Wait, let me go to the right side. Do I have one over there? I've felt my ribs so many times doing a self-exam. I thought, oh, maybe no, I don't have one on the right side. I have a lump on my left side, but not on my right side. Wait, let me dig further. What is this? Ow, that kind of hurt. Okay, ease up on pressure there. Okay. Oh my God, this is a lump. Wow. Okay. Am I too young to get breast cancer? Okay, wait, hang on. The doctor didn't say anything about this 2 days ago. Surely she would have said something. I'm too young to get breast cancer, right? Okay, Jessica, you take care of yourself. You lift weights, you run, you eat pretty well. You don't drink, you don't smoke, okay. I need to get out of the shower. I think I need to Google this. Well, I need to finish my shower. Actually, I'm getting lightheaded and I need to sit down. I'm sitting down. The water is running over me. Do I have breast cancer?
This is Overlooked, and I'm Golda Arthur. What you just heard was Jessica Baladad recounting the story of the self-exam, where she found a lump in her breast that did turn out to be cancer. At just 33 years old, she went on to have treatment and survived. Jessica used that experience to become a breast health advocate and focused on self-exams. She created a social media platform and an app called Feel for Your Life in 2021. Before I talked to Jessica, I didn't think breast self-exams were overlooked. But she makes a convincing case, and she talks about why women are still hesitant to do them, shame around our bodies, and fear of what we might find. I also talked to Jessica about insurance. We may not think about it this way, but dealing with your health insurance company in the US can also bring its own heavy emotions, especially when you're dealing with a diagnosis or scans and screening and paying for it all. In this episode, Jessica talks about what to know when you're going up against your insurance company. All of that and the rest of Jessica Baladad's story is coming up after this quick break. Hey listeners, here's another podcast that we love here at Overlooked. Take a listen and you might love it too.
What do you want to do next? I'm Patsy Day, co-host of The Wobbly Middle, a podcast about women navigating the wobbly middle of their careers. We speak with women who've made bold moves, like a lawyer turned professional chef and a midwife, now femtech innovator. Their stories show us that our midlife is full of possibility. If you're in the middle of your own wobble, let's figure it out together. Subscribe to The Wobbly Middle wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, back to the show. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to Overlooked. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I just think you have an incredible story. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that to flatter, because I think you've gone beyond something that was a personal challenge or personal health struggle. And you've gone beyond that and turned that into something that so many other people can benefit from. And not everybody does that when they're faced with a personal difficulty. I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you more today about breast cancer and breast ultrasounds and breast advocacy, if I could call it that. Feel for Your Life. Tell me a little bit about that name and what's behind that name.
I just want to say first, you're so kind and you're making it so easy to have this conversation with you. So feel for your life. Feel is a verb. It's an action. It's telling you to do something. It's telling you to literally feel for your life. That's why you do self-exams. I came up with that name during my breast cancer diagnosis, and I was in the shower watching my hair, the life off of my head, literally go down the drain. And the shower is where I always did my self-exams. And a self-exam is what ultimately led to my life being saved. So the name Feel for Your Life just came to me while I was in the shower.
I think some of my best ideas come to me in the shower as well. So hooray for showers. But you just said something that I want to ask the follow-up question on. You said your life was saved by the self-exam. Will you tell me that story?
It goes back to when I was 18 years old, and I unintentionally found a lump while bathing. And I thought, oh my God, am I too young to get breast cancer? I was raised by my dad. So I go to him. I'm like, Dad, I have this lump in my breast. He's like, call your aunt, call your aunt. My aunt was a nurse and she had had breast cancer before. He did not know how to handle this female stuff. And so I called my aunt. We got together and I went to the gynecologist for the first time. Long story short, it was eventually diagnosed as a benign tumor, and I had to have a lumpectomy my freshman year in college. Had it removed, and it was that experience that got me into the habit of performing monthly self-exams. Fast forward 15 years later, I'm 33 years old. It took me 4 months to eventually get diagnosed and get a cancer diagnosis to start my treatment.
Describe for me your mental state as you went through those 4 months.
Part of me was carefree because I'm like, I'm in my early 30s. I've been married for almost 3 years. I have my entire life ahead of me. I'm entitled to the rest of my life. My friends are getting married. I'm being in their weddings. I'm going to their baby showers. My sister was getting married. I had an aunt with stage 4 terminal cancer who was getting ready to pass. I didn't want to tell people I had a lump in my breast because I didn't want them to think I was starting drama or trying to draw attention to myself or away from the people who needed care. And my husband had just switched jobs, so our insurance was changing. And there were times in the shower, I kept doing my self-exams and I would feel the lump and I would get nervous. I'm like, this cyst or whatever it is, not going away. And then one day I'm going through my phone. I open Snapchat and I see a video of a woman I had met at my sister's wedding. She was only a year older than I was, and she was shaving her head. So I text my sister and I said, why is so-and-so shaving her head? And my sister says, oh, she's got breast cancer. She's getting ready to start treatment. And I thought, oh my God, I have to go back to the doctor.
What happened next? Tell me about treatment.
It was fast. From mammogram to treatment, 2 weeks, which is kind of unheard of for a lot of people.
That is fast, yeah.
At that time, I had just lost my aunt. A lot of my family, they were in Kentucky to say goodbye to her and honor her life. And I felt really alone. So starting chemotherapy was really emotional and it was scary. And I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that I would be transforming physically into a different person. But what I didn't anticipate was how it was going to transform me into a better person and the advocate that I am now.
I mean, that journey from surviving breast cancer to, as you say, being the advocate that you are now, I don't think we sort of fall into these things. I do think we make a decision to be intentional about the fact that we're going to take our lives in this direction. Was that the case with you? Like, am I wrong? Or did you make that decision to do the work that you did many times over? Or did you sort of fall into where you are today?
It's so funny. I never said, when I grow up, I am going to have breast cancer and create an app and an advocacy platform that's going to hopefully save so many lives and empower people to be their best medical advocates. That was not on my, when you're in kindergarten saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? That is something I never would have written down. I think what happened was I saw insurance denials. I saw women having to go through step therapy. I saw women struggle financially. I saw how there was no accountability in our healthcare system. I saw the reasons why women weren't doing self-exams. I noticed the relationships that they had with their bodies and their breasts. And I know that when I came out and told my friends on a broader scale, I have breast cancer, everyone freaked out. We were, again, all in our early 30s, and it's like, how did you even know to get diagnosed? And I said, well, I do my self-exams every month, don't you? And it was crickets. I thought, we talk about our breasts and how they look in clothes and how they look in photos, but I guess we're just not checking ourselves. And I often say, we're Instagramming our breasts, but we're not mammogramming them. It's okay to do both if you feel good about yourself, So when I saw all of these issues, I thought, I'm going to do something with this.
You said that along the way, part of your motivations came from, watching women be denied with insurance and struggle with paying for screenings and the knowledge, the relationships with our own bodies. So I'd love to talk a little bit more and dig into those. Let's start with the insurance. Was there one moment you remember or one sort of little story or incident that you can tell me about that when you watched it unfold or happen, you just thought, okay, somebody's got to do something about this?
I wish I could tell you there was one little story, but the reality is there were a bunch of stories of people coming to me and saying, my insurance company denied my screening and I have a family history. My insurance company said they were going to pay for this and then they backed out and now I have this balance. What's going on? And I started noticing patterns primarily of women under the age of 40. 12,000 women under the age of 40 will be diagnosed with breast cancer every year. We think, oh, you're 40 now your risk goes up, but you have to look at other things. You have to look at lifestyle. You have to look at family history. It's not like 40 is the magic number. 40 is the number that was decided upon from insurance lobbying when they said, okay, I guess we'll pay for it at 40. It used to be 50. There are a lot of advocates that came forward to have it lowered from 50 to 40, but I think it should be even lower than that for women who have greater risks. Women under the age of 40, they have to put up a fight to get screened. And when I created the Feel for Your Life app, I thought, well, if I can create something that gives a woman an easy way to document her self-exams to say, month 2, 3, 4, 5, I didn't have a lump. Month 6, I found something. I can now go to my doctor. My doctor can go to my insurance company and say, this is why it needs to be covered. Because my patient keeps up with her self-exams and this is the proof and data that we have. We need to intervene now medically.
And this is top of mind for me now because I had my breast ultrasound last week, in fact. And I like to joke, not really, that it was both icky and expensive because my insurance company did not pay for my ultrasound. So let's start here. There's a new FDA regulation that says if you go for a mammogram and you have dense breast tissue, your provider has to let you know that you have dense breast tissues. You need to be told that and you need a follow-up screening. And it's curious to me how when you're over 40, the insurance company will pay for your mammogram, but they won't pay for the next step that should naturally and medically happen straight after, which is your breast ultrasound. I can't for the life of me figure out why one is paid for and the other isn't. So I put it out in the newsletter that I write, and I had people write in and say, oh, $300, which is what I paid, is nothing. I'm fighting my insurance company for $1,000. And I was like, oh my goodness. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, basically.
Right now, different states have their own legislation that will require insurance companies to pay for supplemental screenings. That's what they are. If you have dense breast tissue and you go from a mammogram and you're referred for an ultrasound or even an MRI, those are called supplemental screenings. And depending on the state that you live in, it should be covered. I do have some resources for what states are covered on feelforyourlife.com. Also, insurance companies bank on you not knowing your rights. So they'll try to hold you accountable for something that you may not even, you're supposed to pay out. So there are a few things that you can look at. You can go to the bill itself and you can look at how it's coded. Was this coded as a screening mammogram versus a diagnostic mammogram? That's one thing. You want to look at your bill and make sure it was coded correctly. And then if it is, then you go to the insurance company and say, hey, this is a screening mammogram. And then under this state law, you are required to pay for it. And, they may put up a little bit of a fight for you, but there's different routes that you can take there. Every state also has a regulatory agency where you can file complaints against your insurance company to hold them accountable to the coverage that they're supposed to provide for you for supplemental screenings. It's a little bit of work, but if you're persistent, it can pay off for you. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say, oh, you just fill out this form online and hit submit and it's all taken care of. You do have to do the work and understand that it does kind of wear on your emotional equity a little bit, but they bank on that for you to just pay up so that they don't have to.
Am I right in thinking that there's a little reluctance to even do a self-exam, to do a self-breast exam, never mind go for a mammogram? What are the things that hold women back from getting themselves to any of these screenings, including a self-exam?
I think it starts with the relationship that we have with our breasts and our bodies. When I was going through cancer and I'm trying to figure out why women didn't know about self-exams, I went back and I thought, well, how do women feel about their bodies? And I did like a very informal survey on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I said, what did you learn about your breasts while you were growing up? And the number one answer was nothing. But within that nothing, I realized, why did they not learn anything? And there were 3 reasons. That women's breasts exist. They have a function, depending on what age you are and what that function is, and they should be covered up. They shouldn't be shown. So there's a shame-based narrative around our breasts to begin with. Then while I was going through chemotherapy and telling women about my breast cancer diagnosis, they came to me and said, how did you know to get diagnosed? And I told them about self-exams and I said, do you know how to do one? And it was like, no, I don't. How do you do a self-exam? And when I kind of dug into why they didn't know how, came down to 3 reasons. No one had ever taught them. They were ashamed of their bodies and didn't feel comfortable touching themselves, or they were uninsured or underinsured. They didn't have the financial means for getting screened, and they were afraid of finding a lump that would warrant a screening. So there was a fear factor in there as well. Knowing all of this, I realized that these are things that I'm going to have to overcome to inform and educate and empower women to do their self-exams, and that this is a bigger issue than just telling women, hey, here's the education material for doing it. There were deeper psychological reasons for why it wasn't happening.
Shame and fear are huge emotions, and I think sometimes so huge that you have to really take a minute and stop and identify that they're present in the first place.
Right. But when we look at shame, it also, on the other side of it, when we feel this negativity, it tells us to seek safety, to seek love, to seek compassion, and that we are actually worthy of having grace. And on the fear side, we think of fear as this big, heavy emotion of fight, flight, freeze. But on the other side of fear, I think of it as plan, prepare, and seek help.
I'm realizing actually that I kind of was taking self exams and breast health for granted. So this is fascinating to me because the things that we assume to be the bedrock of our health insurance system, like, for example, as you were saying, when you turn 40, you need to have a mammogram every year. It's like, congratulations, here's your here's your reward. I didn't realize it was sort of as almost arbitrary as that. And it's kind of making me not that I need encouragement to question my health insurance company anymore, but really to question like the foundations of what is this built on? How do we get here? As you say, it can be a discouraging process to be in a battle with your insurance company. What's the one thing that you would say to someone who's in that battle with their insurance company? Is there any guidance that you have for people?
Document everything. From the moment, on this day, I'm going to the doctor to have this addressed. This is what they said. These are my doctor's notes. Get copies of that. Understand what is being coded going to your insurance company and ensure that it's correct. Most of the time, what they do, what's called a prior authorization, which all it does is just delay the care you're supposed to get. Any kind of approval on anything, document it. Don't throw any of that away. Save it. And if you have a conversation with them, either over chat, I love to use the chat feature on an insurance company's website because it's right there. They say they're going to send it to you, and they do most of the time, but it also gives me the opportunity to screen record and take screenshots while I'm having that conversation. I live in a one-party recording state for phone calls. If I have a conversation with them on the phone, I record it to make sure that I have it there. And I hold them accountable to the care that they say they're going to pay for me. Many times what they try to do is go back. They'll tell you one thing and they'll put something else in writing. And they count on you not having the receipts, as the kids say these days. They don't count on you having the receipts for what they said previously. But when you can show that and you need to escalate these issues and you need to file complaints with your state boards, then, it's going to be difficult for them to hold up their end. I will say another thing that I do is when you go through a denial, if you're going through the denial process at the same time, get access to your claim file. It's something that a lot of people don't understand that they can do. If you call your insurance company and say, this claim has been denied, I want access to my claim file, they're supposed to tell you the people and the entities that were involved in the decision for your claim to be denied. The doctors, their specialties, was this person even qualified to deny a surgery? I know someone in the breast cancer community who reached out to me and said, a podiatrist denied my medication. And I'm like, that's insane. So you can challenge the credentials of the specialists, quote unquote, who have denied your claim as well. And many times what you also have to look out for in doing that, the customer service representatives have not always been trained to know the language. So when you say things like, I need access to my claim file, they're intentionally not trained in some instances to know what you're asking for. And so when they plead ignorance with you, they're following a script. And that script is to get you off of the phone as soon as possible. That script is not meant to help you. It's meant to save time and money for the insurance company. So when you challenge that script that they're following, it really kind of makes them nervous and anxious. So sometimes they may not have the answer, but you have to push for the right people who do.
What do you think is the most overlooked aspect of what we've been talking about today, whether that be self exams or insurance or kind of that emotional burden that we take on with both of those things? And where is that inequality felt most deeply?
One of the most overlooked aspects is that we think that age has everything to do with a woman's risk for getting breast cancer. And we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at her lifestyle. We have to look at her family history. We have to evaluate her breast density. We have to look past the things that so many women are dismissed upon. It's, oh, you just need to lose weight. Oh, you're stressed. Cut back on your caffeine consumption. It's your hormones. Those are default answers, again, to get people in and out of a doctor's office within a 15-minute appointment period. So many women, they contend with medical gaslighting, the fear that they're, again, shame and fear coming up again. They're not going to be believed. No one's going to take them seriously. And they're going to be left with more questions than answers.
Yeah. And it just seems to me that if you're a woman, you need to take your health more seriously than everybody else around you. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And I'm going to link in the show notes to your website and all the fantastic resources you have on there so people can go dig even further into more information about self-exams and advocacy and all things breast health. So thanks so much again, Jessica.
Thank you. I love this. This was great. I really look forward to this episode.
Overlooked is here for information and empowerment, but not medical advice. Every person's body is unique, so if you have questions, it's best to speak to your doctor or healthcare provider. We're building a community around women's health so that no one is overlooked. If you'd like to be part of it, hit the follow button on this podcast, wherever you're listening to this. Or you can show us some love by writing us a review and sharing this episode with someone. Overlooked is written and created by me, Golda Arthur. Jessica Martinez de Hoz is the show's producer. You can stay up to date with the show by signing up for the newsletter and following us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We read every review and email, so write to us. hello@overlookedpod.com. Thanks for listening.